Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Apyayantu Mamangani Vak Pranaschakshrotramata Balamindriyani Cha Sarvani Sarvam Brahma Upanishadam Brahma Nirakuryam Mama Brahma Nirakarod Anirakaranamastva nirakaranam me astu tadatmani nirateya upanishatsu dharmaste mai santu te mai santu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Mi Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmedi Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavadvyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Ityetadaksharamudgitamupasita Om iti Shuddhgayate Tasyopavyakyanam. Adhikam tu Bheda Nirdeshat. Adhikam tu, however, Adhikam, Brahma is Adhikam, something different, something superior than the Jiva. So the earlier sutra said, Tad Ananyatvam Arambhana Shabdadibhyah, that Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara, none of them is separate from Brahman. Tattvamasi, the identity between Jiva and Brahma has been revealed. That is true. At the same time, Adhikam tu, that Brahma is Adhikam, is different. That also is true. Bheda Nirdeshat, in the Shastra, there is Abheda Nirdesha as well as Bheda Nirdesha. There are statements in the scriptures which reveal the absolute identity between Jiva and Brahma. Tat tvameva tvameva tat. You are that and that is you. So, this equation goes both ways. That is one, that is Abheda Nirdesha. Same time, the Shastra, Bheda Nirdesha, Ishvara or Brahman is presented as different from Jiva. How can this be so? This can be so from the standpoint of Upadhi. That from the standpoint of the true nature, Sat Svabhavataha, from the nature of Svabhava. The true nature, Jiva and Brahma are identical. Like even a wave and ocean are identical from the standpoint of water. But they are not identical from the standpoint of name and form. Samudro hi taranga nakvachana tarango samudraha. Taranga belongs to Samudra. Samudra does not belong to Taranga. From which standpoint? From the standpoint of Upadhi, from the standpoint of name and form. So wherever we find Bheda Nirdesha, Nirdesha, the indication, the teaching, that Brahman is different from Jiva, or Ishvara is different from Jiva, that should be understood from the standpoint of Upadhi. Therefore, the Purva Pakshi is based on the absolute identity at even the level of name and form. So, Tattvamasi, that thou art, the statement, is interpreted to mean that Jiva as he is, even at the level of Upadhi, is identical to Brahman with Upadhi. So Brahman with the Upadhi of Maya is Sarvajnam, Sarvashakti, omniscient, omnipotent. So Tattvamasi, Upanishad says that Jiva is Brahman. And he Vedantin, you claim that Brahman is Jagat Karanam, Janmad Yasya Yataha, Yataha Brahmanaha Asya Jagataha Janmadi. The Vedanta says that Brahma is the cause of the creation, both the material cause as well as the efficient cause. Yataha is interpreted both ways. So Vedanta claims that Brahman is Abhinna Nimitta Upadana Karanam, is both the creator as well as creation. It is the maker as well as material. And Vedanta further says that Brahman and Jiva are identical. Therefore, if Brahman is Jagat Karanam, the cause of creation, then Jiva, being identical, also should be the cause of creation, should be. And that's a very ridiculous situation. That is the Purva Paksha. So what is the intention of Purva Paksha? This cannot be. Jiva with all its limitations cannot be Jagat Karanam, cause of creation. Therefore Jiva is not Brahma. Or if Jiva is Brahma, Brahma is not Jagat Karanam. Brahman is not the cause of creation. The whole first chapter is based on Brahman being Jagat Karanam and Brahman being identical to Jiva. These are the two things that are stated in the first chapter. Therefore this sutra says Adhikam tu, however, even though from one standpoint Jiva and Brahma are identical, from another standpoint, namely from the standpoint of the Upadhi or name and form, they are different also. So there is an actor, now there is a king, and there is a beggar also. One equation says beggar is a king. So then apparent contradiction. How can beggar and king be one? From the standpoint of the actor, which is the Swarupa, the true nature of them. At the same time, The king is different from beggar from standpoint of the dvesha or the upadhi. So this equation has to be understood. Yet sarvajnam, and therefore, if Jiva and Brahma are identical in absolute sense, in that case, if Jiva and Brahma are identical, even at the level of name and form of the Upadhi, then all the doshas which are present in the Upadhi of Jiva, all of them also land in Brahman. But we say no, yet sarvajnam, sarvashakti Brahma, nitya shuddha buddha mukta svabhavam, sharirat adhikam anyata. That Brahman, which is nitya shuddha buddha mukta svabhavam, ever pure, ever consciousness, ever free, and that is different from Jiva, and that is the cause of creation. That Brahman is cause of creation. That's what we say. न तस्मिन् हिता करणादयो दोषाः प्रसज्यन्ते. In Brahman such as that, this hita akaranam, not doing what is beneficial, doing what is hurtful, these doshas or defects cannot pertain to that Brahman, cannot exist in that Brahman. Nahi tasya hitam kinchit kartavyam asti ahitam va parihartavyam. Because Brahman is complete, it is limitless, and therefore there is no beneficial thing, nor there is any hurtful thing. Nitya mukta svabhavatvat, because it is ever free. Or nitya purna svabhavatvat, really, because it is ever complete. It is whole, it is limitless, and limitless cannot suffer either an increase or decrease, cannot suffer gain or loss, and therefore that Brahman will, the limitless will do something that is not beneficial. There cannot be anything non-beneficial to limitless, nor can there be beneficial to limitless. The beneficial, non-beneficial, all of these apply to a limited entity, never to the limitless. न च तस्य ज्ञान प्रतिबंधः शक्ति प्रतिबंधो वा क्वचित् अपि अस्ति. And never is there an obstacle to its omniscience, and omnipotent is always omniscient, always omnipotent with the Maya Upadhi. Sarvajñatvat, sarvashaktitvat cha. As Jagat Karanam, Brahman is Sarvajñam, Sarvashakti, omniscient, omnipotent. Sharirastu anevam vidaha. But Jivatma is not of this kind. He is not omniscient, not omnipresent or omnipotent. Tasmin prasajjante hita akaranadayo doshaha. Therefore, Jiva, who is limited, for limited there is something beneficial and something hurtful. Because what is limited? Limited is that which is subject to growth and decay. So when the limited grows, it feels benefited. When it decays or loses, it feels hurt. So with Jiva, hita akaranam, ahita karanam, doing what is beneficial, not doing what is beneficial, and doing what is hurtful, this is all possible in Jiva. Nadutam vayam jagatah srashtaram brumah. We do not say that this Jiva, who is limited in knowledge, limited in power, limited in every way, we do not say that he is the cause of creation. Anisho va kuryat bhuna janane kaf parikaraha. Anisha, Jiva is helpless, limited. How, what wherewithal does he have to create the universe? Kutah etata? On what basis do you say that? Bheda nirdesha. Because Shruti clearly says that Brahman is different from Jiva also. There are many places where Jiva and Brahman are different. That one is Karta, one is Karma. Jiva is indicated as Karta and Brahman is indicated as Karma, or the object. Subject-object difference is indicated. आत्मावारे द्रष्टव्य श्रोतव्यो मंतव्यो निधिध्यासितव्य. हे मैत्रेयी, you must know the self by listening to it, reflecting upon that, deeply meditating upon that. So Maitreya is one, and the Atma which is known is different. Maitreya is the subject, Atma to be known is object. This Bheda Nirdesha, this Bheda or the difference is pointed out. Sah anveshtavya, sah vijignyasitavya. He must be investigated, he must be inquired into. So inquirer is different from self, which is to be inquired. The investigator is different from Brahman, that is to be investigated. Sata somya tada sampanno bhavati. In the deep sleep state, the jiva it merges into Brahman. So jiva is one, Brahman is another one, in which he merges. Sharir atma prajnana atmana anvarudaha. So these three quotations were showing the subject-object duality or difference. Yes, last quotation says there are two different entities. It's called Vyakti Vedaha. Sharira Atma. The Sharira Atma means the embodied self. And Prajnena Atmana. And Prajna Atma is the omniscient self or Paramatma. Anvarudaha. The Jiva Atma is presided over by Paramatma. इति एवं जातीयकः कर्तृकर्मादि भेद निर्देशः जीवात् अधिकं ब्रह्म दर्शयति. This and similar statements show that Brahman is greater than and different from Jiva. So by Bheda Nirdesha we are refuting his position, which is based on Abheda. But he says, Nanu, Abheda Nirdeshopi Darshitah Tattvamasi iti evam Jatiyakaha. But we said already that Tattvamasi, that Jiva and Brahma are identical. What about that? Why should Bheda Nirdesha become the basis and not Abheda Nirdesha? So Puru Pakshi says we have based our objection on Abheda Nirdesha identity. You have given the reply based on Bheda Nirdesha or the difference. But what about identity? Then we can say both are true. Bheda also is there, Abheda also is there. How about that? Katham Bheda Bhedo Viruddhau Sambhaveyata. How can it be that in one entity, which is Brahman, there is Bheda also and Abheda also? These are the mutually exclusive things. They cannot coexist in one location. Says they can coexist. Vastavam, ekatvam, aupadikam, nanatvam. Still this has not yet occurred to him what we are talking about. This is the master stroke of the Vedantin. Mithyatvam, aupadhika bhedaha. The difference at the level of upadhi. So therefore to explain, we said earlier, to explain the vyavahara of duality, you don't have to imagine a real duality. A mithya duality can serve the same purpose as a real duality as long as mithya is not known to be mithya. Once mithya is known as mithya, then there is no vyavahara anywhere. That is only apparent vyavahara, no real vyavahara. So, Bhashyakara says, Akasha Ghatakasha Nyayena. Akasha, the total space, Mahakasha, cosmic space, Ghatakasha, an insignificant space within a part. There is a difference between them as well as there is identity between them also. What difference? From the standpoint of Upadi, Ghatakasha feels different from the total space, cosmic space. It is a notion on the part of Ghatakasha that I am different from total space. So, as far as Ghatakasha, pot space is concerned, that difference is real. Even though from the standpoint of Akasha, there is no difference at all, but from the standpoint of notion that the pot space entertains, there is a seeming difference, which will be negated when the Ghatakasha or pot space comes to know its true nature. Then the difference will no more remain. Until then, the difference is tatra tatra pratishthapitatvad. So, ubhaya sambhavasya, therefore, difference and non-difference, both of them can be there, as in case of the pot space and cosmic space. Now, continuing on the page 395, says Ratnaprabha, Kincha Aveda Jnanat Urdhvam Va Doshaha Apadyante Purvam Va. Same thing. Do these problems all exist in the realm of ignorance, or do they exist also in the realm of enlightenment? Aveda Jnanat Urdhvam. After, Urdhvam later. Are you saying that this defect of hita akaranam, ahita karanam, dosha means these defects of not doing what is beneficial and doing what is hurtful. These defects, apadyante, are brought about even urdhvam, after the knowledge of identity, purvam va, or before the knowledge of identity. Please tell us. Whereas Nyaya Nirnaya says, Brahmagatam srashtritvam jivagatam va hitakaranadi parasparam na sambhavate ityaha. Now we shown how the creatorship which is in Brahman and the defects which are in Jiva, parasparam na sambhavati, they do not exist mutually. In fact, they don't exist at all. This question arises as long as there is ignorance. This question arises as long as there are these wrong notions. What's the wrong notion? That I am a jiva, I am a limited being. That Brahman is separate from me. No, that's a notion on my part. And as long as that notion is there, for me, the duality is real. So long, all the doshas can be, because I consider myself limited. For a limited being, there is a gain and there is a loss, no doubt about that. There is something favorable, something unfavorable for a limited being. Something desirable, something undesirable, all these things remain as long as I look upon myself as a limited being. So first of all, the Ripuna Adhya, that look, these doshas cannot be after the dawn of knowledge. There cannot be apicha. Says Bhashya on the page 395. Apicha yada tattvamasi ityevam jatiyakena abheda nirdeshena abhedah pratibodhito bhavati apagatam bhavati tada jivasya samsaritvam brahmanasya srastritvam samastasya mithya jnana vijrumbhitasya भेद व्यवहारस्य सम्यक् ज्ञानेन बाधितत्वात्. Apicha, furthermore, so already we said that by the example of the space, the total space and the part space, that both difference and non-difference can exist in one location, namely space. Furthermore, tattvamasi evam jatiyakena abheda nirdeshena. So when the situation is ripe, when the student's mind is ripe, at that time the teacher says, tattvamasi, like hitting the iron when it is hot, then it gets a shape. Or striking a match when the gunpowder is dry. Similarly, when the antahkarana shuddhi is there, the right samskaras are there, shravanam, mananam, etc. is all there, there is a ready situation, ripeness is there. At that time when the teacher says, you are Brahman, then the student sees that fact, I am Brahman. That seeing takes place. All kinds of debates are there. How can it take place? Where does it take place? Yo veda nihitam guhayam parame vyoman. The self that was so far taken to be a limited being is seen to be limitless, that's all. It is limitless. But I am seeing it as limited by superimposing, by lack of viveka or discrimination. Bhashyakar himself will say. Not recognizing the difference between the upadhi and the self, I lump them together. When I no more lump them together, then the self is shining as limitless even today. But the non-self also is shining. And when I see that this is not I, mano buddhi ahankara chittani naham, I see that fact. Then chidananda rupaha shivoham, when I see that fact about myself, abheda pratibodhito bhavati, when the abheda or the non-duality is thus taught, or the student is made to see. Anadi maya supta yada jiva prabudhyate. That jiva is sleeping in the beginningless sleep of maya. When he is woken up, then what happens? Apagatam bhavati tada jivasya samsaritvam. Jivasya samsaritvam. The sense of limitation on the part of jiva. Samsaritvam, that I am a limited being, subject to birth and death, subject to pain, pleasure and pain, hunger and thirst. So taking myself to be hungry, thirsty, painful, etc., that is samsaritvam. All hunger, thirst, pleasure, pain, all of them belong to the upadhi. Vedanta does not say hunger and thirst are not there. They are in the upadhi. So when this is seen, ashanaya pipase shokam moham jaram mrityum atyeti. Ashanaya pipase, hunger and thirst, shokam moham, grief and delusion, jara mrityum, old age and death, atyeti, that the Atma transcends this, is untouched by this. In as much as samsaritvam, that I am a samsari, that I am a helpless creature. Inasmuch as this feeling about myself is born of ignorance, it is not the reality about myself, it is the notion about myself born of ignorance, therefore knowledge can dispel it. Being limited, had it been a reality about me, there is no way that any knowledge can remove that. That I exist, no knowledge can remove that because it's a reality. That I shine is a reality. Knowledge reveals what is, knowledge does not change anything. It is ignorance that was distorting the perception of what is, and when that distortion no more remains, apagatam bhavati tada jivasya samsaritvam. Jiva is no more a samsari, meaning he no more looks upon himself as samsari, as a limited being, as a helpless creature, in need, as a needy being. Then what? Then Jiva sees himself as Brahman. Then apagatam bhavati brahmanascha srashtutvam. Then Jiva, then this enlightened person sees that the creation is no more real. The question of creation, sustenance, dissolution, all of these questions arise as long as the universe is taken to be real. But when it becomes very clear that it is mithya, the names and forms are mithya superimposition. It is as though creation, as though sustenance, that creation, etc., are not in the real sense. When you wake up in the dream, then you realize that this is not real. It's a projection. In projection, where is creation, sustenance, dissolution? Therefore, Brahman does not remain cause of creation in the primary sense anymore. Brahman was thought to be the cause of creation because causality also was superimposed upon Brahman. Just as Jivatvam was superimposed upon the self, the Srashtritvam, the creatorship also was superimposed upon Brahman. Both the superimpositions take place simultaneously. The ignorance does two things. It veils my true nature here, it veils the true nature of creation also. So my true nature, which is Satchidananda or Asti Bhadi Priyam, there it creates a notion of Jivatvam, of being a limited being. In what we call universe is Asti Bhadi Priyam, there it creates a notion of name and form. Both these go away. So when there is no real creation, when the question of creator, when the universe is not real, then the creator also is not real. All there is Brahman. Therefore, apagatam bhavati brahmanasya srashtutvam. Brahman is there, but Brahman is no more the creator. And so, the wise person realizes that this creator, the creatorness or creatorship also was a superimposition. Samastasya mithya jnana vijrumbhitasya veda vyavaharasya samyak jnanena bhaditatvat. Veda vyavaharasya, all the vyavahara, the transactions that take place in Veda, in duality. Which is what? Mithya jnana vijrumbhitasya. All the duality that has been projected by false knowledge. So, avarana and vikshepa. The true nature is veiled and the false nature is projected. Samastasya, of entire mithya jnanam. So, mithya jnanam or false knowledge pertaining to self, as well as false knowledge pertaining to the creation. Both. Two false knowledge is there. And that is why this mithya jnana, so bheda vyavahara is there. I look upon myself as a limited entity because of superimposition upon the self. And I look upon the Jagat as different from me because of superimposition there. Therefore, everything outside this body is different from me and I am different from them. That's a Bheda Vyavahara, mutual exclusion. I exclude the universe excludes me. That's a Bheda. Anyonya Abhavaha, mutual exclusion. So, all these Vyavahara, whatever I do, is based on this conclusion that I am different and the world is different. And dvitiyadvai bhayam bhavati, when there is duality, there is fear. Fear stands for all kinds of suffering. So this was there because of superimposition brought about by ignorance. Meaning my own mind superimposes. It is the nature of mind to have judgment about everything. So mind experiences the self, therefore there is judgment about the self that I am a limited being. It experiences the universe, so there is judgment about the universe that it is a change, it's a name and form, changing, different entity. Mithya jnana vijrum. Then all the vyavahara, all the transactions, all the interactions, all of them are based on this conclusion. We are born with this conclusion, meaning we are born with the tendency to identify with the body and tendency to take the name and form as real. Nobody has to teach us that. Naisargikoyam loka vyavahara. This vyavahara is naisargika, is natural, is uncreated, it is beginningless. But then when I see the true nature of myself, and when I see the true nature of the Jagat, that I am Asti Bhadi Priyam, Jagat also is Asti Bhadi Priyam, that there is absolute identity. So what is Vyavahara? It is not that I am doing things, it is not a problem. It is what prompts what I am doing. What conclusions I am entertaining, that is what is important. That we are eating, drinking, seeing, hearing, talking, walking is not a problem. What's the problem? Ahankara vimudhatma kartahamiti manyate. That I look upon myself as ahankara, as an individual being, identification, because of identification of upadhi. Kartahamiti manyate. I look upon myself as karta, bhokta. नायम हंति न हन्यते उभौ तौ न विजानीतः नायम हंति न हन्यते ये एवं वेत्ति हंतारम यश्चैनम मन्यते हतम. One who looks upon oneself as karta, other person is bhokta, ubhau tau na vijanitah. Both of them do not know because Atma, neither does it become an object of action. So when this transformation, it is what has to take place is the transformation in perception. That's all. No outward change has to take place. The change in my perception has to take place, my perception of myself and my perception of the world, that's all. And so Ishvara, Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara. We are entertaining these false notions about Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara, all the three. All of them go away. So, Bheda Vyavaharasya Samyak Jnanena Bhaditatvat Natu Nashitatvat. The Vyavahara does not destroy, meaning doesn't disappear. Bhaditatvat, there is no more reality, it is more like acting. So, wise person definitely does all the Vyavahara, or whatever is required. But just as when we remove the fang from the snake, snake remains only in appearance because no more poison is there. Similarly, this Vyavahara is like apparent snake, there is no more poison, no more doshas are there. And so, mana apamanayo stulya tulyo mitrari pakshayoho. So then, Bhaditatvat, therefore, all Bheda Vyavahara is gone. Therefore, Bhashyakara says, Tatra kutah eva srishtihi kuto va hita karnadayo doshaha. Tatra, in that state of enlightenment, meaning when you see things as they are, kuta eva srushti, where is the real creation now? Kuto va hita karanadayo doshaha, the dosha, defects of doing what is not doing, what is beneficial, etc. For whom? That entity is no more there. As long as individual entity is there, so long favor and disfavor, favorable, unfavorable, all of these ideas remain. When that fellow doesn't remain, the actor thought that I am a real beggar. In that case, every penny that comes to him becomes important to him. When the actor thinks that he is a real beggar, then every client that comes, he is looking for, every fellow passes by, he is waiting, what will he do? What will he give me? But once he realizes that I am actor, I am multi-millionaire, then what does it matter who comes and who does not come? He may make a show of being very happy when a penny is given to him, but nothing inside. Bhaditatvat, all the expressions are only in the fake and not real. Tatra kutah eva srushti, where there is a beggar, where is the beggar? Where is the pleasure and pain? Where are they? They are not there. So for the wise person, kuta eva srushti. Now where is creation anymore? Kuto va hita karanadayo doshaha. Or where are the defects of hita karanam, ahita karanam? Says Ratnaprabha, Uktam mithya jnana vijrumbitatvam sputayati. Bhashyakara said that all the Vyavahara is brought about by mithya jnanam, false knowledge, sputayati, that is now being clarified, avidyayati. Avidya pratyupasthapita नाम रूप कृत कार्यकरण संघातोपाधि अविवेक कृता ही भ्रांति ही हिताकरणादि लक्षण है संसार है न तो परमार्थतः अस्ति इति असकृत अवोचाम। अविद्या प्रत्युपस्थापित, that which is presented purely by ignorance, which do not have reality but purely presented by ignorance. What is that? Nama Rupa. So Nama Rupa Prasarana. Just as upon the ocean there are waves and bubbles and foam, so also upon Brahman there is this universe of name and form. All of this is, the name and form are purely a projection of ignorance. And what does this name and form do? Nama Rupa Kruta Karyakana Sanghata. What is the Karyakana Sanghata? What is the assemblage of body and subtle or gross body and subtle body? Karya, the gross body; Karana, the organs. The outer organs and inner organs, all of these are Karana. So that's Sanghata. What happens? That is a Upadhi, that's a limiting adjunct. So, that Upadhi is in the great proximity of the Atma. Just as a flower becomes Upadhi when it is placed in the vicinity of a crystal. If the flower is away from crystal, then no problem happens. When the flower is in the great proximity to crystal, then it gets reflected in the crystal. It creates the appearance of the color in the crystal. Similarly, this body, mind, sense complex is very close to the Atma. Therefore, it throws its limitation as though upon the Atma. Really, crystal does not color the flower does not color the crystal. The flower manages to create an appearance of color in the crystal. Similarly, this body, mind, sense complex does not create limitation in Atma, but it creates an appearance of limitation. That is why Viveka is required, what is apparent and what is real. Nitya Nitya Vastu Viveka, that all the limitations are anitya, they are unreal, they are mithya. Satya Mithya Viveka. The sense of limitation is mithya. And limitlessness is the reality. So, aviveka krita hi bhranti. When this viveka or discrimination or separation between the self and non-self is not done, that creates the bhranti. That I am a limited being. And when I am limited, then I am subject to gain and loss. When gain happens, I call it beneficial. When loss happens, I call it non-beneficial or hurtful. Understand that these are the projections I make upon situations. This hita karanam, ahita karanam, hita karanam. Doing what is hurtful or not doing what is helpful, these are all my personal views. I understand that. What is hurtful and what is helpful, both of these are my personal views. Because what I look upon as hurtful, you may not look upon as hurtful. A squirrel may not look upon as hurtful, may look upon as helpful. And so what is helpful, looked upon as helpful by one, is looked upon as hurtful, same thing. So thus about one thing, when there are these contradictory views, that means that it is mithya. So this very idea of hitakaranam, doing something beneficial, because beneficial and non-beneficial itself are not existing, they exist only in my mind, they are a projection of my mind. So I keep on projecting that as long as I look upon myself as a limited being. So Bhranti hita akaranadi lakshana samsara, that this is gain, this is loss, I have lost this, I have gained this. That's called samsara. If loss is samsara, gain also is samsara. Because there is no such thing as gain. If I truly knew myself what I am, that I am limitless, there is very the question of gain. And where the question of loss? Tulya ninda stutir mauni santushto yena kena chita. The ideas of gain and loss, that is called samsara. Because then heyatvam, upadayatvam is there. Something I discard and something I acquire, that is all transaction, vyavahara. That's my life. And something is all binding. Because when I get what is desirable, then there is a desire to get more of it. When I get something undesirable, there is a desire to get rid of it. Keeps me busy forever by creating desires which have no real basis. All desires have their basis only in the sense of limitation. So, hita akaranadi lakshana samsara. How long is there? As long as viveka is not there, as long as discrimination is not there, as long as true knowledge is not there. Nadu paramarthata asti. Paramarthata, when the true knowledge takes place, the notions go away, nothing else goes away. And nothing else need to go away. If anything else is causing me pain, then that has to go away. But only my notions cause me sadness. Pain means sadness or grief. What causes me grief is my own notion. When the notion goes away, nashto moha smriti. Where is the question of then grief and delusion? Iti asakrit avochama. We have said this a number of times before. Refer to my discussion on this and this sutra and that sutra. Then says Ratnaprabha, कर्तृत्वादि बुद्धि धर्म अध्यासे देह धर्माध्यासम दृष्टान्तयति. How do you say that kartrutva is an adhyasa? That I look upon myself as a karta, bhokta, doer, enjoyer. How do you say that it's an adhyasa, a superimposition, not a reality about myself? So, deha dharmadhyasam drishtantayati. This deha dharmadhyasa, adhyasa superimposition upon of the deha dharmas. So that becomes a drishtanta. To show that we can similarly superimpose the dharma of the buddhi. That may not be very clear. That kartrutva belongs to buddhi and does not belong to atma may not be very clear. But The next sentence is Janma Marana Chedana Bhedanadi Abhimanavata. So Janma means birth, Marana means death, Chedana, injury, Bhedana, wound, all of this. Now this we can see in the body. So when we know very well that the birth takes place of the body, and when I say I was born, it is very clear that the dharma or the attribute of the body is superimposed upon the I. It is very clear. Marana, it is very clear that it is body that dies. When I say that I am dying, it is very clear that I am superimposing the attributes of the body upon myself. This can be seen by me. It is our experience. Chedana, Bhedana. If injury takes place in the body, I am injured. If wound takes place in the body, I am wounded. So that we are habitually superimposing the attributes of gross body upon the self is a matter of experience. Therefore it is presented as drishtanta. What is drishtanta? Illustration? That which is accepted by everybody. So just as we habitually superimpose the attributes of body upon the self, similarly we also superimpose the attributes of the organs, buddhi, antahkarana, as well as these organs, external organs, internal organs. Those attributes also are superimposed upon the self. All of this is due to ignorance. Dvitiyam pratyaha. So two questions are asked. Are you saying that this dosha, hita, karanam, etc., are they after the knowledge or before the knowledge? After the knowledge it is shown how these defects are not there because they are purely notional, and those notions are dispelled by the knowledge. And if you are saying that all this takes place before, then it's okay. So, dvitiyam pratyaha purvam va. I was saying that all these doshas are there before the dawn of knowledge. So, abadhitetu, Bhashyakara says, abadhitetu भेद व्यवहारे सोन्वेष्टव्यः स विजिज्ञासितव्यः इत्येवं जातीयकेन भेद निर्देशेन अवगम्यमानं ब्रह्मणः अधिकत्वं हिताकरणादि दोष प्रसक्तिं निरुणद्धि. Abhadite to Bheda Vyavahara. As long as Bheda Vyavahara is not badita, as long as it is not negated, as long as it is not seen to be mithya. So as long as ignorance is there, the duality is taken to be real. As long as that situation persists, then what is the situation? In that situation, Brahman is different from Jiva. So when he said Tattvamasi, that Brahman is identical to Jiva, when does it apply? It applies after knowledge. But before knowledge, what is the situation? That Brahman is different from Jiva. Therefore, all the doshas apply to Jiva, they do not apply to Brahman. You follow? So Brahman is Jagat Karanam. To Jagat Karanam Brahma, there is Sarvajnam, Sarvashakti, Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Swabhavam. To that Brahman, these doshas do not apply because that Brahman is different from Jiva when there is ignorance. And therefore, all the doshas apply to Jiva, therefore, they do not apply to Brahman. Therefore, Saha Anveshtavya, Saha Vijignyasitavya. So, we quoted this statement that Atma is to be inquired into, has to be investigated into. iti evam jatiyakena bheda nirdeshena. So this and similar statements very clearly show that Brahma is different from Jiva when in the realm of ignorance. Not that Brahman is different, but because Jiva looks upon himself as a limited being, therefore he thinks Brahman is different. As long as that thinking persists, so long the sense of limitation is there, and so long see, this gives us a tremendous clarity about what Vedanta is teaching and what Chhandogya Upanishad is teaching in Tattvamasi. That Veda is apparent, but the apparent is taken to be real as long as his apparentness is not recognized. The dream is taken to be real as long as it is not recognized that it is dream, it is projection. So, in both the situations, these doshas do not apply to Brahman. In the situation of knowledge, since there is no samsara remains, no hita, then the question of the benefit, no benefit doesn't remain, therefore these doshas are not there. The state of knowledge. The state of ignorance, the doshas are as though there, but only belong to Jiva, and Brahman being different from Jiva is unaffected by them. Therefore, Veda Nirdeshana Avagamyamanam Brahmana Adhikatvam. Brahmana Adhikatvam, that Brahman is different from Jiva, which is what we learn from this and similar statements. Hita akaranadi dosha prasaktim nirunadhe. It dispels or removes or destroys any prasakti, any occasion of these doshas arising in Brahman. Then it becomes very clear that these doshas belong to Jiva and therefore they do not belong to Brahman, is very clear. So that is how these two sutras discussed how these doshas do not apply to, they are only apparent, they apply to Jiva, do not apply to Brahman. How Brahman is Jagat Karanam, how it is identical to Jiva, and still what the difference is, where the non-difference is, all of this is made extremely clear. Om. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.